In this video we're going to take a source shot like this, which is rather sort of underexposed and a little bit oversaturated, and create a sort of cinematic grading style effect like this. It's a much classier looking image now. You've got a very clipped selection of blacks here, which is a very fashionable thing to do at the moment, especially on shows like Top Gear, and there's a slight desaturated look to the colours as well. So it's a pretty cool looking shot, and you're also blurring to the edges too. And we'll throw in a vignette for extra as well while we're at it. So let's start off with our source file, and let's just rotate that by going to rotate 90 degrees to the left. And yeah, it's looking a little bit kind of muddy and horrible compared to what it could look like. So let's hit Tab to get the layers palette up. And the next step is to duplicate the layer by dragging it to the Create New Layer icon, and let's blur that to create our selective focus effect. So let's go to Blur, Gaussian Blur, and let's go up to about 20 or maybe just under. There we go. So that's a very dramatic blur there now, and we'll use a layer mask to mix between the two layers. And to do that, let's create an adjustment layer. Let's go to anyone will do. We're not going to adjust the levels or anything. We're just going to click OK, because all we're after is this little mask here. Drag it down below, background copy, hover in between the two and hold down the Alt key, and this icon will appear, which will then, when you click, it'll link the two together. So to blend the two layers together, so we can actually go from a sharp shot of the man to a blurred background, target the mask, select the gradient tool, choose a radial gradient, and then click and drag from the middle outwards a little bit like that, and you get a nice blur at the edges and a sharp looking guy in the middle. If it doesn't quite work, click again, and you can redraw it and to make it exactly the effect that you want. So you've got a subtle mix between blur and sharpness, and that helps focus our attention on the main figure in the shot. Now we can work out a way of reducing the saturation, and to do that, let's click on background for the moment, go to hue saturation, and click OK to create a hue saturation adjustment layer. Now make sure you pop that above the blurred layer there, so make sure that the colours are changed below the actual adjustment layer, so you're adjusting the blur and the background. Now we can double click and start to tweak our colours. Drag saturation down like so until you've got a slightly natural looking desaturated colour palette. Click OK, and then go back to adjustment layers again, and now let's look at levels, and we can create that high contrast effect by choosing a levels adjustment layer, and we can then drag the blacks to the right to clip them. If you want to see how clipped they really are, hold down Alt and you'll see clipping warning there. So anything that's showing up in a posterized color, especially his t-shirt there, is going to be strong and dark and black with no detail at all, which is very much like a typical Hollywood makeover type shot, or Top Gear does this a lot as well. For highlights, because it's looking a little bit dull there, isn't it, let's drag the brightest pixels and remap them, and if I hold down Alt we can see anything that's going to be clipped in the highlights. Now that's a little bit too burnt out, so let's just take that down a little bit, and now we have a very high contrast clipped looking shot. Click OK, and then we can fine tune that by maybe taking the colours down. Because we've been changing the levels, the colours have changed too, so let's go back to hue saturation and then just reduce the saturation even more to get that slightly cool looking washed out colour palette with clipped blacks and whites. And for a finishing touch, let's Control minus to zoom out, create a new layer, and add a little bit of a vignette effect around the edge by using the elliptical marquee tool. Hold down the Alt key to draw it from the centre, and let's just create a little bit of a vignette at the edge. Let's feather that a little bit more as well by going to select feather, something like maybe 50, so it's really soft edged, and then what we can do is inverse it by going to select inverse and then filling it on the new layer with black, or the foreground color, which is the same. Control D to deselect, and then set this to overlay, so it actually blends with the edges there and darkens them. And let's just reduce the opacity as well down to about 40%, so that the focus is now on the guy because of the vignette effect and also because of the selective blur, and we've got nice crushed blacks and bright whites.